Hello fellow fraggers, my name is Frag myself, and this is the first part of a new tier list Frag Pro Shooter miniseries that will be on my channel for the beginning of 2022. In this miniseries, I'm gonna be ranking all of the cards in Frag Pro Shooter with a man you probably already know, which is Space Unicorn. Tier lists are a great way to rank many elements from best to worst, which will be for us all of the characters in Frag Pro Shooter. This means that the higher a character is on the list, the better that character will be in the meta. As you can see in this tier list, there is going to be a lot of tiers, which means that the tier list will be very precise. However, it is still very much opinionated, which means that of course me and Space Unicorn will base all of the rankings that we do in this miniseries based on our opinion and our experience of the game, which might be different for you. We're going to be ranking all of the cards based on how much potential usefulness they have in your deck, as much as an AI card or as your card that you play. When you hear me throw out the term of an AI card, it means that it's a card you don't have to play. It's just a card that's in your deck and that is great left alone. This tier list will likely be updated once Volume 3 comes out, but as the meta changes this year, you can expect the accuracy of this tier list to go down. So keep that in mind if you're watching this in the following months after it's released. This miniseries will be split in 4 videos. The first one, which is this one, will be about the low tier characters, the worst characters in Frag Pro Shooter. Then the next one will be about the middle tier characters, so the ones that are pretty much average. Then there's going to be the high tier characters, which are even better. These are mostly characters that are pretty much very playable. And then the last part, well, it's already uploaded, so it's the first part, but it should be the last part, which is the top 10 best characters in the game. So as I said, this video is going to be about the low tier characters, only the worst characters in Frag Pro Shooter, at the moment at least. And they're going to be ranging from F tier to C tier. As usual, if you end up enjoying the video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you don't know me as a player or Space Unicorn, let us present ourselves. And with all that said, after that, we'll get right into the ranking after this terribly long intro. So yeah, not gonna keep you waiting anymore.
So most of you guys know who I am. I'm Space Unicorn. I am a tournament champion in Frag and a content creator now who's recently started playing FCL, which is Frag Champions League again. Just seeing if I can get back to the competitive scene where I was. That's kind of a little bit about myself.
And also, well, of course, I'll let you guys, I'll leave you a link in the comments for his channel. Definitely, if you don't know Space Unicorn, recommend you go and check him out. And for me, you know, I'm definitely not as much of a competitive player as you are, Space. I'd say I'm more or less a casual player. Also, maybe a little more defensive. I think a lot of people, most people play more aggressive than I do. So that's a little bit of what kind of player I am. So with that said, I mean, let's not waste any more time. We're gonna get right into the rankings. So obviously, as I already said, this first video is gonna be about the low tier characters. These characters should be ones that you should, as much as possible, avoid to have in your deck as you unlock new characters.
Yeah, 100%. There's
yeah. So we're gonna start off with, I guess, the first character in alphabetical order, which is Amélie. Amélie, if you ask me, she's she's a very fast character, but her damage and her small HP is the problem. She's kind of very weak in terms of damage and HP, but very fast. Her HP is a big problem for her.
I would agree with you. Amelia, man, lower arenas, Amelia feels like she's like the queen of the game. But as you level up, she just kind of becomes less and less viable until where she's obsolete in the upper arenas. And largely because of what you said, health pool, she's slow and just doesn't have the damage output to contend with some of those heavy hitting cards.
Yeah, definitely. She's definitely very fast, and her ultimate ability, it combines with that speed, and she also is a very agile card, so just that is definitely a very above average speed and agility, which I think should bump her up to the top of the low tier. So maybe something like C tier should work for her.
I would agree with that. I think that she's probably a solid C pick right now.
Okay, so next one on the list is gonna be a Baron VooDooM. So what do you think about him?
VooDoom's sneaky. VooDoom has a weird place in my heart, if I'm honest. He can heal on damage. He can respawn your whole team. He's just kind of in a strange spot, and yet you find yourself losing fights with him continually, which is weird. His damage is just a little too low. He doesn't have the health. Realistically, he's a 2-shot for some of the heavier hitting cards if they're on the same level. And I think that's really what's holding him back right now. He just doesn't have the health, and the damage with the heal just isn't quite enough to keep this card up.
Yep, I definitely agree with you on that. It's kind of a card that, in theory, you should win with him, or at least he should be useful. Respawning other cards, your AI cards, on when you're pushing, it feels like it could be OP, but you start playing him and you just die and it doesn't work. So I think, yeah, in practice, it's just not really a good card. However, he does have very good healing. It's hard to kill him sometimes, and when he respawns after he dies with his ultimate ability, it can be annoying. Probably in the lower arenas, he's also pretty good. I think he was the first legendary card I got. But, I mean, with that said, like, in the grand scheme of things, against most characters in the game, he's gonna die, he's gonna fail. I mean, I think it's another C tier for us.
If I would agree with that, I think he's definitely C tier.
I think next one could be Bot Mama. Oof. Bot Mama. Bot Mama is like sort of the first defender that you start playing, I guess, after Frost. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest, this card is sort of silly. Her damage is, like, it's absurdly low, right? It's kind of dumb, and you know, I think the main advantage you get with playing her is her bots, and like, if you try to main her, if you try to play her, you will not be able to do anything because her damage is too low. She's too frail. She doesn't have enough speed either. So it's sort of a card that I honestly think should be used as an AI only, and can definitely be used in the lower arenas, but not later than that. And that's gonna be probably very recurring to all of the low tier characters. You can play them when you unlock them, but probably not very much, not for very long after that. So honestly, she's gonna be, I mean, she's just so bad as a main card that you want to play that I think that's gonna bump her down to E tier probably, but not lower, not F tier, because she can be used as AI for a very, very limited period of time, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Bot Mama, just the damage isn't there. She has a weird shotgun pistol, no range, and no viability past like Arena 4.
I think next one we're gonna have Cybergirl. Cybergirl is sort of I think my opinion of Cybergirl is gonna be maybe controversial. I just think that she's like very much trash. She's got okay damage, I guess, but it's really not that much. She's got headshot multiplier. She's also got not too much HP, and her speed is okay. Can be used in the early arenas probably to rush or something, but honestly after that, I honestly really don't like her, so I would say she's an E tier probably.
Interesting. So a Cybergirl for me is another weird one. Cybergirl, whenever we had fewer cards, used to be pretty good. That she's just right now with the cards being where they're at, she just finds herself continuously falling. The damage on the head's okay. Gun's not very consistent, a lot of spread, and no health to speak of. So I would agree with that.
E tier, okay. And I think we should probably mention the teleport. The teleport is an interesting ult. It makes her definitely unique, which it just ruins her AI because she's about to die. When she's about to die, she teleports back to your base, and when she starts pushing again, she just dies like in one hit. So it's pretty weird, but I mean, yeah, I think she deserves a few buffs. So yeah, I think E tier is where she really belongs. Maybe D tier, like you can probably make an argument for D tier, but there's gonna be other cards probably that are better than her. Dan, next one is gonna be Dan. I'll let you talk about Dan a little bit. I know you love him.
Dan the man, the first fragger. Oh, I love and hate this card, and the reason I love him is because he's the first fragger, and the reason I hate him is everything else. Dan is too slow, health's too low. His ultimate ability, while a good idea, does not give him enough health to survive anything. And his damage is non-existent. Dan is kind of your quintessential bottom of the barrel guy who I don't have any. I love Dan for being the first fragger. I just don't have anything special to say about him, unfortunately. Everything he does, other cards do it much better.
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree. And honestly, if you ask me, like, he wears sunglasses, and my theory as to why is because he's constantly crying and he doesn't want anyone to know.
Sounds logical to me.
Yep. So, I mean, Dan, you're going F tier. Sorry, buddy. Okay, let's go Buck. Buck is a card I want to put into low tier, but I'm on the edge of putting him into mid tier. I'm not sure. He's the card that's got like, he's got a shotgun card. He's a shotgun character. Decent damage. I mean, if you hit all of your shots very close to your opponent or of the base, it sort of works, but you need to get close, and that's the thing that gets hard with shotgun characters. I mean, unless you have ultimate ability that lets you get close, I guess. Talking about Buck's ultimate ability, it's kind of, I mean, it's useful a little bit, but out of all the mobility ultimate abilities in the game, it's sort of one of the worst because it's very limited to certain scenarios.
Buck's a weird one. I don't know if he's a true low tier, because he's fast, he does okay damage, but he's kind of one of those ones that's toeing the line. So I can agree with your stance on him. He's kind of in a weird place.
I think that the main thing for him is his speed combined with the shotgun, which actually makes him okay to use as a shotgun character because you can actually get close to your opponent, which is what's going to differentiate him from our next character soon, which is going to be Padre. But I think he's probably one of the best low tier characters, so I'm going to place him in C tier as well, but like top of C tier.
I would agree with that. Padre's buff, while was step in the right direction, wasn't enough. I do love Jack though. The damage at the right range, there's a sweet spot with his shotgun, and if he gets that sweet spot, it is a ton of damage.
Oh yes.
So
now Padre is like high risk, high reward, but more risk than reward. He's, I think, still the character in the game that has the highest DPS. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I mean, besides, I guess, Lord JR. If you get him on the bunkers, he just melts them. But the thing is, honestly, when you play against real players, and even like, you don't even have to get to the top arenas for the fact that it's just not gonna happen. He's too slow. Yeah, he's too slow, low HP, which makes him very, very hard to play, to rush to the bunkers.
Yep, I would agree with that.
I think that just makes him not quite meta, and he'd probably be our first D tier, just because he can actually do like so much damage if you're lucky enough, or maybe if you're good enough at placing yourself at the right place. He can actually also be pretty good at getting rid of AI cards, because most of the time you can get close to AI cards without being in like too much danger. The problem is when you try to get rid of opponent like players with Padre, like it's tough. You have to get close, and that's probably the biggest problem with him.
That's the biggest thing with Jack. You have to get so close, and he's not particularly tanky. You just got to be on top of him.
You can think you're close and hit his shots, and turns out you do like no damage because you're not close enough. You really need to be close.
Yep, exactly.
Our next one is going to be Eagle Eye. I don't know. Do you agree, Space, that he should be in low tier?
Eagle Eye has such a weird firing mechanic. It's a 2-round burst that arches and has bullet travel, which is tricky, but at the same time, he has a splash radius. The rounds explode. He does okay damage. As far as being in low tier goes, I think he is, but it's only barely. He's a high low tier.
Yep. I think it's like a sniper, but not really. Like, you can use him sort of close range as well, because he's got decent damage even at close range. I don't think his damage gets I don't think he does less damage in close range than long range, which is, I think, pretty much for most snipers.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think top of C tier, he sort of works because he's got like actually decent damage, and it's pretty easy to hit his shots. But low HP, low speed, it's sort of hard to make him work. Combined with the fact that he's got no ultimate ability, I think with a decent ultimate ability, he might be actually pretty good. But yeah, and regarding his AI, it's pretty trash. Okay, next one. Oh, next one's a Fidelio. Fidelio used to be so bad, man. Now he's not so bad. He's still bad, but sort of a better bad. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
Fidelio is another one. Primary weapon, next to useless, but that ultimate ability is actually decent. So it's, man, dude, he's such a big hitbox to not be able to tank shots and be slow and just not able to dish out the damage effectively enough. Man, I don't know what's going on with that card.
Yeah, I mean the thing is that like he did get a pretty like a relevant buff. Like he was buffed a lot, and he's still very very bad. So it makes you think how bad he was before the buff. And honestly, yeah, like small HP, not very fast. Damage on his main fire is also still very bad, and it used to be like even worse, like way worse. For me, he's sort of a D tier character because he's got pretty good damage, and you can use him in the defense if you want to play him a little bit. His AI though, I don't think it's that bad. I think his AI is sort of like in the middle, so it's actually better than I think all of the AIs we've already mentioned in this tier list. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, I would think. I think the only one that would give him a run would be VooDooM.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, VooDooM can be useful. And I think also, I forgot to mention, but with VooDooM, I like to use him a lot in Street Frag. His respawn ability gets so much easier because he can respawn many cards at the same time because the map is going to be smaller. Oh, Inferno. Inferno's a funny one. Yeah. I used to think he was actually pretty good, but I regret that decision.
Man, Inferno, I've played some good Infernos. He does do a lot of damage per shot, but he dies easy. His ultimate ability takes forever to actually work. Yeah, I would say he's in the lower half as well.
Yep, it does. And like his ultimate ability is kind of, honestly can't remember the last time I've had trouble with it. He can essentially like spawn a card in front of him that he copied from your deck. You know, usually the card that he copies is just not gonna do anything, more or less of a distraction, and you can probably ignore it. If you play against an Inferno, you just gotta be careful. Hide, you know, in the corners of the map where he can't see you. Try to approach, and when you're close to him, like most characters are not gonna have trouble beating Inferno one-on-one. So I think he's okay. No, I don't. I think that he's gonna be probably D tier, like not F or E. That's pretty rough, but yeah, D tiers makes sense for him, I think.
I could see him being a C or a D as well.
Oh, okay, we have an interesting one here. Interesting because I've seen a lot of your videos where you talk about Mimi. And honestly think that you underrate her a little bit. I think that she's gonna be in C tier. Yeah, does that make sense to you?
I can understand why she would be there. I think in my video that I did, I put her in C as well.
I think you well, I mean, yeah.
But like my thing is with Mimi's this, like her ultimate ability is fantastic. That wall, especially if placed correctly, super effective. You run into issues though whenever you actually have to fight somebody. So I can understand where you're going with the C tier rank on that one, 100%. You could actually use her, I think, as an AI card. Maybe like not in this meta because her wall just gets like two-shot by a duality or whatever. But if you play her AI, she's usually gonna place her wall at random places all around the game, and that can be a problem with like. I've played against Mimi AI that just placed a wall at the wrong place, even like close to the bunkers where I couldn't hit it, and it's just kind of annoying. So I think she can work, and even as a main, if you're good at hitting your headshots, she can actually do below decent damage, but not that bad. And she's very hard to hit. Obviously, if you place her wall in front of you, you can hit through the wall. But honestly, yeah, I think C tier is where she should be. All right, our next one. Can you guess who it is, Space? I'll give you one hint. It's my favorite character in the game. Long shot.
Yep, you got it. No, I mean long shots is just kind of ridiculous. In all seriousness, I've joked about him being OP before, and if you got fooled, well, that sucks. No, but for real, long shots he's I think the lowest HP character in the game. His damage is pretty much non-existent. Of course, he's got like crazy range, but how does that matter when you have no damage? Really super slow character. I think he's got like pretty much every weakness you can have on a character. Even like no ultimate ability, which is kind of a salt in the wound. So yeah, I mean F tier. I don't think you're gonna argue with me on that space.
Yeah, no. Long shot is easily one of the 3 worst cards in Frag.
I would agree. I would argue the worst one.
I think he's close. I'm not sure. I think I have him a little ahead of Dan, but only a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, don't see how does that matter.
Yeah. Whenever they're that low, it doesn't.
Our next one's gonna be Genkis. Genkis is a card I used to play like when I started the game. He might be like consistently the most damage, like the highest damage card you can unlock when you begin playing the game. In the first few arenas, you can push him on the bunkers. I used to do that before and do like decent damage. I don't know if it's viable in the lower arenas anymore.
Yes, Genghis is still viable. I actually have a test account. Not a test account, I should say an alt account. Genghis is actually... I have a really torn relationship with Genghis here. So Genghis, in my opinion, is actually a pretty decent card. It's just whatever AO... AO is what Genghis could have been, essentially. Genghis does really good damage. If you get good with his ultimate ability, it's effective, but he's just really slow. The largest hitbox in the game is Genghis, and he just doesn't have the health to support that hitbox. Just easy kill at the end of the day, unfortunately.
No, I mean Genkis is he's gonna be a C tier for me. I don't know if you agree or not.
I agree. I would say a high C, low B minus. But yeah, somewhere right in that range is where he should be.
Nautica. Nautica, she's been buffed like twice before, right?
Yep.
And honestly, where did that put her, man?
It moved her up from why are you in the game to I'm horrible, but people play me. Essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. Her rank should be like, yeah, they've tried to make her work, but it's just fate at this point. I think she might be a D tier or even a C tier. I think she's kind of a high skill character if you want to master her, but there's not much to master, honestly. Like if you're really, really willing to try her out, like give her some time, she can be, I would even stretch to a B tier, because her aim is hard to do. It's hard to hit her shots. Just the trajectory is weird. If you're able to hit her shots well, you're going to be able to use your ultimate ability actually pretty well, I think, because it can hit many people at once. If you hit like many people with your main fire, they sort of get marked, and then you can use the ultimate ability. Honestly, I think she got nerfed when they changed it from that to just automatically aiming to other characters. But that's probably besides the point. The thing is that she's got way too low damage. Her speed is kind of average. Her ultimate ability, not that helpful, all things considered. And yeah, low HP as well. So I think that's she's just too hard to play to be worth investing your time in. At least if you're trying to like win games actually. So she's gonna be a D tier, because I want to make a statement that she's not worth it.
Yeah, she's not.
Okay, is going to be our next character. So what do you think of him?
I think okay is not that good. I wouldn't even say he's okay, to be honest. He's weird. Now, I know there's going to be somebody in the comments. There's always somebody whenever I say this about him. They're like, oh, but you can tower glitch on your opponent's towers and destroy them almost instantly. Yeah, that's true, but it's a glitch. It's not meant to be that way. While his ultimate ability is cool to have an AoE heal, essentially, and his damage is actually decent, most players in Frag and in mobile games cannot track very well, and this is really where he kind of falls, because he just can't tank shots, and he's just not fast enough to really play anything outside of the lower cards.
Yeah, I'd actually put him at... I used to put him at F tier, but at the beginning of the year I played in a tournament against, I think it was Psycho Zorch. And he played AO because it was like a low tier card tournament, and man, I just got destroyed. So I'm like, I'm not really. He's definitely a low tier character, but he's not F. I'd say he's like D tier.
I would say so. I would agree with that. He's definitely not bottom of the barrel, but he is low. That's for sure.
Because he can actually do like a lot of damage. He's one of the cards in the game that can like destroy a bunker the fastest. But he's not a card that you're going to be able to push because low HP, low speed. He can do a lot of damage, but you need to hit your target for a long time because the damage increases over the amount of time that you're hitting your opponent. Next one, I know that's a character you love, and I do not know if you're gonna agree with her being a low tier or not, but it's Poca Hunter.
I don't think she's a low tier card.
Okay.
I don't think she's particularly high either. She's kind of middle of the road. The thing with Poca is if you can master Poca, the ultimate ability does so much damage, and the primary shots do so much damage. She does take a delicate hand to learn, though, and a lot of people just don't quite have the time to put into learning that. So that's where I'm at with her.
For me, she's kind of a better Nautica, more damage. So I can understand placing her at B tier, honestly, and I think for me she's like sort of a better Nautica. The main problem with Poca Hunter is like I think her HP and how hard her shots are at hitting the opponent. Because man, the ultimate ability, I have trouble hitting it. Man, like it's pretty rough, especially when they're moving. It doesn't really have splash damage, and if you're moving as well, trying to escape your shots, like it's hard to hit. It's pretty easy to hit like one or two of the arrows, but it fires like 4 arrows that do something like 120 each. So it does do more damage. It does do a lot of damage, but hitting this damage consistently is not the easiest thing. So honestly, I'm okay B tier. Next one, Quetza. Am I saying it correctly? Yeah, Quetza's just got a useless ult. Like her volleyball, her dodgeball just doesn't do anything. So you can pretty much ignore that. I mean, like in the 1% scenario, when you're using it, you're gonna be able to knock someone off the map, but that just pretty much never happens. It's just like a dream world where that happens, and it's just, I don't think it should even be considered, honestly.
Yeah, Quetza is not very good. She actually has a decent damage output, but what you need to do to get that damage output is just ridiculous. So she's definitely bottom. Definitely.
Yeah. She's like an average speed character, pretty much no HP, and like okay damage, but pretty much no real upside on this card. So yeah, something like, I think I'm hesitating, probably top of D tier, maybe C tier.
I would agree.
Mr.Doe, the invisible man himself. Mr.Doe, man, he's he's such a troll card. I play him once in a while just to see if I can do something with him, and like I think he's okay on the bunkers, but you need to get there. Trying to get frags with this card when you play them, and when you play him is just, it's just too hard.
He's a bunker bust character, and realistically he doesn't even do that well. So
I think the only reason why you could think of playing him, maybe in the lower arenas, but even in the higher arenas, when you're like, if you're stuck playing him, he's actually got okay AI. He uses his invisibility well. If you do your attack commands like often, he might get to the bunkers more easily because of the invisibility, and that will mean he does more he does a lot of bunker damage, and might be pretty dangerous, but really like one of the easiest cards to get rid of. Pretty low HP as well, so I think not more than a D tier. We're gonna have Volcano now.
The Volcano nerf was tricky. They buffed him to the moon and then nerfed him again. While his damage is still actually really good, His ultimate ability is much better, but overall he's just slow and just can't really compete. His fire rate's just not there to back him up. That's what's really hurting him. They have to find middle ground on that fire rate.
But the thing is that like he's not really slow. He used to be a slow character with high damage. Now he's sort of fast, but like he's got low damage. So they really changed him a lot. And I've tried playing him like recently, and like you just cannot do anything with him. Even with the ultimate ability, which is okay, I guess. You need to hit your shots. Like you need to do more damage in the ultimate ability to get frags, and that's just it's just too hard, I think. So I think he's gonna be an E tier.
I could see that E or D, well, somewhere in that range.
All right, so we're gonna have a little bit of a long shot copycat. We're gonna have Vlad.
Vlad's another dumpster fire. Oh, you used to be able, so the original Vlad, you could actually fly in his tornado, and it was fun. It wasn't useful, but it was fun.
Really? Okay.
Yes. It was, Vlad just doesn't have damage, doesn't have a fire rate, ultimate ability's next to useless. He's just, no. He's bad.
Yep.
I still say he's better than Longshot and Dan, though, because his fire rate's just a little bit quicker and his damage is a little bit better.
Yep. Honestly, I just approve of this message. I don't have to say anything more. Slimer. Slimer, you know what's crazy? I recently leveled him up to level 14. I'm having a blast playing him. But is he good? Definitely not. No.
Yeah, I would agree. See, here's Slimer's kind of weird. Man, I like Slimer. I do.
Yeah, really. I think it's sort of similar to Volcano. And I think he's sort of a high skill character as well, because you can actually hit your shots, hit your main fire at the ground, sort of shoots a slime ball that gets stuck to the ground, and when enemies get close to it, they sort of take damage, which is really creative, and I think that's really fun. He's also pretty tanky, but he's slow, and I think like for new players, like being able to play him well is hard, which is why I think she should be a D tier. I don't think even a pro player will be able to play him much better than like something like D tier, but do you think D tier is makes sense?
You can definitely make a case for D tier. I enjoy Slimer. I love the fact that I can bounce off of his ultimate ability. I use that to gain elevation and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not there. So you could definitely make a case for that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his ultimate ability is kind of useless besides, being able to use it as mobility. I think, well, I don't think it's useless. I think it's sometimes practical because you can use it to block shots from your opponent or just sort of annoy them. But is it very dangerous? I don't think so. Like, it's more or less just about trolling your opponents than really doing damage. So I think E tier makes sense.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Okay, we're really close to having all of them. Next one, Gigagoo. Gigagoo, I honestly just don't see how he can be used very well. I don't. Have you found success with him?
Oh man, Gigagoo. Slimer's son is he's interesting. My better half would tell you he's cute. But I have had no success with that card. His ultimate ability is okay, but the damage and the way it's delivered is a problem.
But yeah, he's just his main fire probably should be worked around a little bit. I think she should be able to do more damage. I think that's the main thing. It's really hard to stack on damage to your opponents when you're playing Gigagoo. Yeah, the damage per second says it's 128, but I sort of don't believe that.
Yeah, I don't believe that. Maybe the explosion plus the that's the only way I can think of it.
Yeah, it's sort of really hard to play him if you want to be good at him, and even if you want to be good at him, you can't really do much. So I think I don't want to say E tier. I think D tier makes sense. And you can talk about C tier, but honestly, D tier is probably where she's at. And we're gonna have our last one. Ranked him before the buff, but I think he's still there. It's gonna be Captain Polar.
Captain Polar. I have a very love-hate with him as well. On paper, he should be better than Longshot, but I have been really struggling with him.
It's been a while. Honestly, I think he's sort of C. I think before the buff he was sort of maybe D tier, low C tier, now she should probably be something like high C tier, because I actually think his AI is okay. Like sometimes you play against a Captain Polar AI and you get sniped for out of nowhere. So I'd say C tier, but obviously you have the weaknesses of all the other snipers. So low HP and low speed. It just makes him kind of hard to use and not very rewarding. So everyone, that's going to be all of the bottom tier characters. All of the worst characters that you should definitely avoid to put in your deck unless you're really trying to go for a challenge. Or just try to have fun. I mean, obviously, some of these characters may not be very good, but they can be very, very fun. So, I'm not telling you to always play the best characters, of course, but if you want to win, these are really not the characters you want to be playing. Of course, thank you Space Unicorn for helping me out with the bottom tiers characters.
Absolutely, it's fun.
And, I'll see you guys in the next video, where we're going to be talking about the middle tier characters, the characters that are not quite at the top, but that are very balanced, and honestly, if you put them in your deck, it's really not that bad. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.
See you guys.